Well, hello and welcome, everyone. This is our question and answering episode of the podcast. We do this once a month and just love that we have a group here that is here to ask Reiki questions, and we get to talk about all things Reiki. So I am here with Colleen. Colleen, you want to just unmute and say hi?
Hi, everybody.
And with Danny.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. And just a few quick announcements before we get started. We do have upcoming animal Reiki classes. Those are in November 2nd, I think, through the 5th. We have Animal Reiki 1 and 2 and Animal Reiki Master. Colleen has some upcoming classes in December as well. And, you know, all the things. The other thing that we do want to mention is just our free distance Reiki shares that we have every Tuesday morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific. And those are free and open to everyone. So if you want to just, you know, have a circle, a community that, you know, you want to join, you're welcome to come to those. And then also it's a great way to experience Reiki. So it's open to all levels. Even we have people that come that aren't attuned to Reiki, but just want to kind of get to know more about it and have, you know, some Reiki experiences in a safe container. So all of that can be found on our website, reikilifestyle.com. All right. Did I get everything in our short announcements? Yeah. Anything that we do can be found at our website. So that's kind of all you
And
need.
social media is all Reiki Lifestyle also.
Yeah.
Our YouTube channel. We're putting a lot on that now. Well, I would say, shall we go right into the invocation?
Yes.
And with a caveat about the invocations, sometimes they go very deep. If you are listening to this in the car, you may want to fast forward to the conversation part of the podcast. And if you are busy doing something that you can just let the energy wash over you while you're busy, that's fine too. But just they can definitely go deep. So just heads up, which is what we love, of course. So
I was just going to say that. That's what we like about them.
that's what we like about them. All right. So Robyn, are you doing the invocation or am I?
I think you are today.
Okay, great. Okay, so go ahead and get comfortable. Okay. So close your eyes and take some deep breaths. Place your hands together at your heart in Gasho. And breathe deeply. As you breathe in, the light and life force of Reiki flows in on your breath, flows through your hands, and flows right into your heart center. And expands here in your heart like particles of light, showing up and flowing through your body gently in any of the places where the light within you may feel diminished. This breath flows in with the light of Reiki and opens the channels within your body. So your breath and the life force and light force of Reiki is reaching every system within you. Here in your physical body, place your hands comfortably on your body if you're able, receiving the light and the life force of Reiki, the power of love by every name it's called, the power of the divine mind and the divine heart, the power of the divine earth, the power of the divine infinite, power of the divine within you awakens on your breath as the light flows through you, flows through your hands, flows through your breath. And it flows through you on your breath, down the front of you, past your throat and your heart and your belly, between your legs at your root chakra and flowing downward with your legs and your earth star, your chakra below your feet in the earth, and flows all the way into the bedrock of the earth, where the earth and the fire and the water and the air is flowing underneath the surface. And the heartbeat of the earth and the heartbeat of creation here on the earth, from the earth, rises and flows through your body, filling your physical body with the elements of the earth. As the earth rises through your earth star, your root chakra, and each chakra, second and third, fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh, and through your crown, out through your soul star, and into the infinite. And here above you is the infinite light, shining through you as it descends through your soul star, down through your crown chakra, and all the way down. And here, the light of the earth and the light of the heavens merged, unified within you. One light, one breath. This light, your breath, your light. It's revealed to you now as you remember that you, in truth, are an extraordinary being of the light, your body made of the earth, and the most extraordinary of manifestations, this earth and this physical reality and all of its beauty and abundance. The light of creation, of pure consciousness. And in the moment, in the divine heart, when your spirit became self-aware in the infinite, that spark of your spirit is here at this moment in time with this breath in your body, and you belong here. Breathe deeply now and receive, and go within and listen. Listen to the quietest sound you can hear inside you. Now expand your perceptions. Expand them to in front of you. And now expand your perceptions behind you. Expand your perceptions on each side of you, above you, and below you. And listen to the quietest sound you can hear. Expand your perceptions now in the space around you as the light of Reiki fills the space. The higher frequencies of love and truth and beauty and grace gratitude and wholeness. And the life force of Reiki and the spiritual guidance awakens your spirit, guiding you, your higher thought, higher consciousness, expanding the field of possibilities. Your consciousness and awareness around you, the spiritual beings that are here with you, the sacred and beloved ones that you are in relationship with, the enlightened beings of the light. We welcome the divine animal kingdom, the angels and archangels, our brothers and sisters in the light, the ascended masters. Thank you. And you expand your perceptions and your awareness to the light beings that have joined this divinely ordered circle. All around you, with you. And expand your perceptions and imagine those beautiful beings of the light perceiving you. And notice that they see the light in you as beautiful as theirs. And you remember now that you are an extraordinary being of the light, being here at this moment. And that divine animal kingdom is here with you, standing in a circle of life, and they invite you to take your place in the circle and to be in the energy of the blessing fields and receive the blessings as the blessings flow through you. And you begin to see the divine in everything around you and the divine within yourself. And as you see the divine within you, you see it in everything else. And as you see the divine in everything else, you see it in yourself. Breathe deeply now and receive. Receive the light and the blessings from the fields and frequencies of blessings and grace here on the earth. As the beauty of the seasons change into the autumn, into the spring, moving into the energy of the cycles, because you are here in the circle of life. Take this moment to say thank you. And we say it together to our Mother, the Earth. And thank you to the waters of the earth and all the life in the waters. And we share our blessings with them, and they share theirs with us. Plant nations, medicine plants and the food plants, the people who know how to use them, thank you. Thank you to the animals. Thank you to the trees. We share our blessings as we receive yours. And thank you to the songbirds and the beautiful ones soaring in the sky. Thank you to the moon and the stars and the sun. Thank you to the enlightened ones. And thank you to the great being of the universe. We invite you to shine on us and be our friend. Look inside now and say thank you to you. We say thank you to each other. Our circle is always divinely ordered. Those who are here live today and those who listen later. Thank you. We share in common our love for contributing to the wellness of life, wellness of this earth. Thank you. And we say thank you to the enlightened ones who share in this love with us, the teachers who came before us and the descendants who come after. And so we gather today to share ideas about Reiki energy, Reiki techniques, Reiki practices, a deeper understanding and shared experience of this remarkable energy of Reiki. Thank you. And so it is. Thank you. Okay. Well, so Robyn, where do you want to start with our questions?
Yeah, thank you. Normally we like to give everyone a little bit longer to come back, but in this format, we do need to kind of come back quickly.
Well, at least we do. You guys
Yeah, at
don't.
least we do. So if you're still kind of in it, just allow, yourself to be in it.
Yes.
All right. So, this is a perfect question, Cheryl, because we've been talking about this all month on our distance Reiki share. And if you're not able to make the distance Reiki share, we do have our information and our guided Reiki journeys on our YouTube page. So Cheryl asked, I did a journey the other day and went to the field of wisdom. Have you heard of this area? So Colleen, we should probably just quickly explain what she means when we're talking about journeying, and then we can kind of talk about that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay. Are you waiting for me or I'm waiting for you?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. Okay. So the Cheryl is asking about a Reiki journey that she did the other day, and she's been a longtime student in the Reiki, the Next Step Reiki classes. So that's what this is relating to also. But we also have written articles about Reiki journey techniques, and we've been talking about it all month on our distance Reiki share, the how-to, etc. So what she's asking about is she did a Reiki journey to the field of wisdom. And has anyone heard of this area? So in the training that we do in Next Step Reiki and how we work with the Reiki journey techniques in teaching it is kind of mapping some of the areas that we find in the spiritual realms of the third heaven. And the third heaven is an enlightened realm. And everything there is love or higher. And well, what is higher? But anyway, love and higher, all the amazing enlightened qualities that you would think of. Well, in that spiritual location, there's still kind of a physicality to it in at least how we perceive it. All of you may perceive it differently. And so we're not trying to say this is exactly how it all is. This is just in how we've worked with it and how we teach it. And so we go over a bridge of light, which actually is the distance symbol. And we use that bridge of light to take our consciousness to the enlightened or spiritual realm of the third heaven, where we do things like go to the river of life. This is also the location for those of you that work with holy fire and you are Reiki and you're working with, say, the ocean of holy love or the river of peace. But also it's a very expanded area. And so we've journeyed to places like the Hall of the Ancestors and the Tree of Life and the Reflection Pool. And so we teach about those in our training of how to access these spiritual realms and these levels of consciousness. So the thing that to answer Cheryl's question, where she actually journeyed on her own and was exploring in the third heaven and came across what she calls the field of wisdom. And has anyone heard of that before? And, I don't know if I've been to the field of wisdom in the same context that you are saying it, but more importantly is the awareness that now what you are doing is expanding where you go, kind of your way and how it's showing up for you. You're channeling it more, you're channeling the journey more, where initially, just like anything, we've created a certain level of structure for the journey techniques to give you the beginning training. But then the training is to lead you to the place where you now journey on your own and discover things like the field of wisdom and the information and the consciousness level that you receive there. And so, in the next step classes, we start with discover your next step, and then live your next step, then channel your next step. And that's where, somewhere in that process, you get to where you start having your own channeled experiences with it that may be unique to your experience, but also that you can share with others. Like, hey, did you know there's a field of wisdom? Go check it out. And so, these are things that we all have capabilities of doing. And each of you listening may already have your way of journeying through shamanic techniques. That's where, my roots with it, of course, came from. But now I journey with Reiki energy, and we use Reiki energy in the journeys, in the spiritual locations. And none of it is a better than, it's all just, where you resonate and where you are guided to journey to. So we're using Reiki energy for this and going to a field of wisdom and going in and experiencing what's there. If the journey is for you personally, you may have questions that you go into that field and say, hear from the wisdom, because typically, of course, you have enlightened beings that are in those realms as well. And they may sit and hang out with you and share wisdom with you. It also gives you access to your divine wisdom. Because when you journey into these locations, and the more you're working with it, you are also accessing that same thing inside of you, your life force energy, your Reiki energy has your higher consciousness, your divine knowledge, your field of wisdom within you. So it all works together. There is the external source that when we do this actively and we set these intentions, we actually, Reiki energy gives us that access on, one of the topics we've been talking about this week is, how do you know you're not making it all up? And one of the things I said was, I could never make it all up. It's my mind wouldn't think that way and doesn't think that way, except the other piece of it is understanding it is still your imagination that is the gateway, the doorway to access your consciousness. And one of the things we've talked about is how imagination in our culture is often very suppressed, in understanding what is actually our authentic imagination and what are the gifts that it brings to us more than making things up. It gives us access to our intuition. It gives us access to insight, inner knowledge. It's one of the ways that we go deeper within us. It's one of the doorways. So anyway, Cheryl, if you're here and, oh, there you are. I see you now. If you want to add anything to it or ask questions or share anything about your journey, you're welcome to unmute and do so. So now I kind of put you on the spot. So I
Try now, Cheryl. I had the unmute, allow people to unmute off.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Thank you. No, it's just very, very unique journey because I frequently go to the field of possibilities. But for some reason, we just went right by that field and went to another area. And I'm going, I don't know where this is. And it was really a pleasant experience. I didn't know if I was still in the third heaven or higher. But I found as if the information was a little bit different, a little, I don't know, I don't want to say clear and concise. That's not correct. But it was just like it was at a little bit higher level for me. Maybe somebody else would not experience that, but that's what I did. And it's the first time I've ever been to some place beside structured places. I'm so good at going to the structured places, and I'm grateful for the two of you taking me to the structured. So it was very unique. But thank you for explaining that we are getting to a stage where we can go and venture out and explore. Thank you.
It's happening.
Well,
So
the other thing that you said that I think is interesting too, to explain or talk about a little bit is, maybe it was a higher level of consciousness than the third heaven. And so the first thing to say is when we say higher, it's not necessarily hierarchical, like the way we think of, oh, this is better than or higher than, because you can receive at all the different levels. But we do work with the 12 heavens, or what we think of as the 12 heavens of consciousness. And that's the other thing in your journeys. And we have been specifically going into those next levels of consciousness in your journeys. And so you may find that it takes you into that next level. And again, it's like you say, it's just different. It's not to make it a better than, it's just a different. And so that's really interesting that you say that. It felt like a new level of awareness. Nice. For those of you that can't see her, she's shaking her head yes. Like that's it. So yeah, we've been working with the 12 heavens as well, and journeying with the 12 heavens of consciousness, which again, many of you may already have your own experiences with this, and none of this is to replace what your experiences are. But what we have done is, like Cheryl said, created a structure so you can learn it, that then lets you, find it all within yourself and expand it for yourself. So there's lots of ways to think about all these things, to believe in them, names to call them. Some people have asked, are the 12 heavens dimensions? And because I haven't really explored it from that perspective, I can't really answer that. It would be a question that you learn to ask of the energy and receive your answers. So that's the whole purpose, is to teach you and to take you deeper into the Reiki energy so you can answer and receive not just your questions, but to me, like all of this is how I find my solutions, how I do my problem solving, how I deal with anxiety or worry or, the everyday real stuff we all go through. And so, anyway, there's a real practicality to it. I think that's another piece that's really important to understand, is that we do these things to access our inner truth so we can live from that place, that it actually has a practical application, that it's useful in our daily life. Like, how does having these awarenesses make a difference for what you need to do today, or how you need to think about something tomorrow, or solve a problem that you have, or navigate through a difficult situation you're in, or manifest and create an idea that you're dreaming of, and suddenly the timing is right and you need that extra energy to help you do that. What are the practical applications? Often we think of these things for problem solving and managing our life challenges. It is equally about revealing your gifts and talents and ideas and innovations and insights. Sometimes they're just for your personal insight so that you have a different awareness suddenly. Another time it's about something very tangible that, you have set a goal or you're trying to gain clarification. We've been talking about that a lot too, is how do we, gain clarification now, like on your next step, because we are in such different times than we were a couple of years ago. And how do you use all of these abilities? So that's a Reiki journey. And I know we're talking a long time about it. But for us, it is what we use, the skills we use to really create everything. For all of our Reiki work, the animal Reiki classes, manuals, writings, articles, ideas for communications, social media, all of it comes through accessing this higher level of consciousness that Reiki provides us. And I just want to clarify that we're not always in that perfect state of it. So not trying to claim enlightenment yet, but we have our moments of almost there. So although my understanding is once you get there, there's always more to get to. So it's from some of those that have experienced, that's what Yusui said when he experienced enlightenment with Anshin Ditsume when he received Reiki. He said there's always other levels of enlightenment to go to. So anyway.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Cheryl.
And the thing is about these places, Cheryl, is that it's infinite, right? So there's so many, like Danny put in the chat, Waterfall of Wonder must have been a place that you went to. And I've definitely been to places outside of the structure. And so there's it's infinite in all the different places that you can channel through. And it sounds like too that you were doing a journey for somebody else. Yeah, she's shaking her head. Yes. So that's the other thing, even though, it's for, I know that like at this point, I don't think that you're professional Reiki. Yeah. So you're just doing it. So you don't have to be professional to do this work for others, just as many of us that have Reiki don't have a plan to be for professional Reiki practitioners, things like that. But it is amazing. I find for me that is actually the time that the different places, most of mostly come in is when I'm doing like Reiki journeys for others, because it's outside of my own perspective. So asking the questions, setting the intentions for the session, and then, then that's when the new place to kind of solve those questions or support those questions or, fulfill the intention. That's kind of when they show up, and they can be so unique for so many of us. So, yeah. Also, Danny put in the chat, we do have an article on the website about Reiki journey techniques that you can check out, and it's under our free downloads. You'll see a little tab for articles that you can go to and scroll down and click on that article. So
Another one that goes along with that is Reiki for spiritual guidance. They kind of, if I had it to do over again, I would have titled them like something where they are a part one, part two almost.
Mary asked the question, is there a field of healing journey for those with physical challenges, or is that a basic hands-on Reiki? I like this question because, first of all, I don't know if we said that all of these experiences Reiki is still always doing the work. So even in the Reiki journey techniques, Reiki is still always doing this work, and Reiki will do the work regardless if you are experiencing or actively seeking these insights and Reiki journeying first. So that's the first thing too that we want to say, is that you don't have to have these insights for Reiki to still do the work. What this work is doing is observing what Reiki is already doing. So in every Reiki session, when it's straight Reiki, you're always releasing and you're always bringing in, they're always healing and you're always empowering. So that's the fundamental piece of what Reiki energy is doing and what Reiki does in sessions. This is just extracurricular skills that you can do to go in and or go up, or however you want to define that, and really see, how Reiki is doing the work. And so, yeah, I would say that there is a journey or a field or, some sort of place that can help with physical challenges. I wouldn't say that I've specifically, visited there, like that would be exactly what it would be the place of that. But that would be a question that you can ask. That would be a question that you can go in with the intention of that. And then, of course, as we know, with also, with all Reiki, that it's also complementary therapy. So, sometimes what those fields can do is help bring in solutions. What those fields can do is help bring in the spiritual side of the healing that can help with those things. So, yeah, that would be an intention and a question that you could ask Reiki to show you. And sometimes the things can be unexpected. So sometimes, like, I've definitely had those times where I'm asking that question of like, how do I heal from this, challenge that I have, health challenge that I have, and expecting that maybe it would just go in and have that healing moment of, what we kind of like hope that we can all have and achieve for other people. And what it has done actually is helped to reveal some solutions. Like, you need to go to physical therapy, you need to go to like a language pathologist, you need to, here's the, eventually the naturopaths that I've needed to go to, the doctors that I've needed to go to, show up in a roundabout way that I've in those cases, I've been able to relate them back to me asking that question and relate them back to the sessions that I've had around that and asking Reiki that question. And sometimes we don't have quite the awareness that that is where it's coming from, because it was a month later or something like that. So that's kind of the things that can show up. Or more of like the other thing that has shown up is that kind of spiritual piece around the physical challenges or health challenges that you might be experiencing. And sometimes that's the healing that comes through. So there's a variety of things that can show up in these sessions. And then also, I think many of us have experienced the, kind of miracle side of things where the Reiki has really, really helped lead to the path of wellness through Reiki. So I also don't want to put restrictions on the possibilities that it can do some of that work, but also to know that sometimes those things and how they show up can be unexpected from what we kind of think of that. Is there anything more around that? Yeah. In this topic. Okay. We have another question. So Alina asked if I wonder if you could talk more about Japan's workshop, specifically about travel to Tanie village in between classes, signing up for the Karuna class and wondering if I could join for this trip. So Colleen, the stage
Well,
is
yes,
yours.
actually, thanks for asking that. It's because literally just this week, October 11th, Japan opened back up to travel. They have been still in, not allowing any tourism into Japan because of the pandemic until October 11th. And so William Rand and I had planned to teach on Mount Kurama in Japan in April of 2023. And now we are happy to announce that, yes, we are going to be offering those classes. And we have both a Usui Holy Fire 3 Reiki and World Peace Reiki class on Mount Kurama, and also a Holy Fire 3 Karuna Reiki Master class. These are classes where you actually stay at Karamasu, which is a ryokan inn, and we stay there. The class is there, and we do class time at the inn, and we also we're in Karama Village, so we literally walk a couple blocks up to the entrance of the Mount Kurama monastery. It's not a monastery. I never know quite what to call it, a temple. But anyway, through the gateways and up the mountain, and we do Reiki work on the mountain as well. It's a really powerful experience. And so we are there. The classes are 6 nights. And, you check in, have some time to explore the mountain by yourself. And then we have class and explore the mountain together and do things, Reiki things there. And then on the 6th morning of the 7th morning, I think, is when you check out. Anyway, all of that is on reiki.org. Some of it is still getting finished up because we now have some new things to write into the landing page about the trip, some of the things to know about Japan. Right now, you do not have to be vaccinated to enter Japan. Sometimes they are requiring a 72-hour negative test. One thing to know, though, is they are very strict about their mask regulations. And so anyone going there absolutely has to follow their requirements for wearing masks. So that's something to know. But other than that, the country is open. Mount Kurama is in Karama Village outside of Kyoto. And so what Alina was asking about is also on April 15th, the people attending the class will be going to, or can, it's a choice you can make, you don't have to go. But in between the master class and the Karuna master class is a day trip to Tanii village, which is the birthplace of Usui. And if any of you watched the 100-year ceremony that we did online, and if you watched that, the Shinto priest of the village actually did a ceremony with us, and we'll be doing one again. And then we will be joining the Taniai Reiki organization for a Reiki share there on that day. And then the next class is going to begin. So some people will have checked out after the master class and they're attending the Taniai ceremony as the last thing they do. And some people will be joining it as the first thing they do and then going to the Karuna class. So that is a whole day trip. There will be additional fees for that will include your travel and lunches and all the other expenses that go with it, because we do go by bus as a group rather than individual, like traveling. We travel together as a group. So anyway, you can find out more about it on reiki.org and expect for the landing page to be completed really by the early next week. We have a few changes to make in the information just because of Japan's regulations and what is appropriate there. The Ryokan Inn where we stay, Sugaku-san and her family are such lovely people. The rooms are all shared rooms. It is a traditional Ryokan Inn, which means tatami mats, but they're very, very comfortable. They are shared rooms, and it's a very traditional Japanese experience. The extraordinary thing there is that the owner of it is a master kaiseki cuisine chef, and the food is just like, I've never had food like that before. It's beautiful in its presentation. Everything is fresh and in, only from what is in season. And it's, like these 8-course meals, and it's extraordinary. So anyway, if you are thinking about attending, go to the reiki.org website and check it out. The space is limited. So if you think that it's something you're interested in, you do probably want to register for it sooner than later. The only other thing I would say is that, we do go up the mountain, which is a 1,900 foot in elevation mountain. So you do want to be able to, to be physically able to go to the mountain and, join all the things that we do on the mountain physically. So it's all very groomed and a lot of steps. So it's not like hiking over things like you think of mountain climbing here that we have in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, 1,900 foot mountain here is a foothill, but it's steep enough. And so you definitely want to be able to participate in that part of it, because it's pretty amazing. So thank you, Alina. And yes, you're welcome to email me, Colleen at reikilifestyle.com with any questions.
I'm just wondering, just a random question. Is there onsen at the ryokan there?
The onsen so far has not reopened after the pandemic. They actually closed their doors. So whether or not it reopens by the time we are there, we don't know. Yeah, Kurama Onsen. So yeah, they didn't quite make it through the pandemic. So hopefully you send them lots of Reiki for that. That's one of the reasons why the class sizes are small, is because of the accommodations, that we only have the accommodations at Kuramasu.
Right. Okay, so then the next question is, and just to add to Japan, I haven't been yet, but the last time Colleen came back, she was in that Reiki energy for quite a while.
I'm looking forward to going back.
Yeah, it was like kind of that peace energy that many of us experienced with the world peace, that it's not onsen dichume in the way that we think pure enlightenment, but it definitely had qualities of that, where it's just like, okay, nothing bothered. It was like, yeah, it was pretty funny observing it all.
It was a wonderful state of being, and lasted, I would say, almost a couple of years. I went 2 years in a row, and the first year that we went, William and my husband Robyn and myself went together, just the three of us, and we weren't teaching. We were there to check out, whether we could teach there. And then the following year, 2017, we were teaching. But in 2016, my mother had just passed away. And so I had all of that to manage, and her estate to settle, and all of those things. And when I came back, and then Robyn was having a baby, we were remodeling a house, I mean, all this stuff. And I was in such a state of peace. It was an extraordinary place to be, and everything was so smooth. Like, for the quantities, my mom hadn't done her taxes like in 6 years or something, so I mean, I had a lot to manage with her, and all of that those of you that have done that before know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I was in a pretty amazing place from that energy of the mountain. It's pretty extraordinary. Japan is a lovely country to travel in. That was the other thing. One thing to know is, if you're going to go, you definitely want to figure out Google Translate on your phone and have an international, turn your international services on your phone, because people there, only a select number of people actually speak English. It's not like some of the European countries that you go to, where you can pretty well assume people will be speaking English, and or somebody will. In Japan, it's not as common. So those are some of the things, but we should have a whole thing where we just talk about that. So, and for those of us that are traveling there, we will meet in advance with William and talk about some of those things.
And then, Colleen, do you need to mention just real quick about Tanya outside of traveling there with this group that has set it up in advance?
Yeah, so the Tani organization, I would say, if somebody is going there, if you're going to Japan on your own and you're going to go to Yusui's birthplace, which is Tani, and that's where the Torii Gate is and the Yusui Memorial. But the Tani organization actually asks that you get in touch with them and actually have them help you with either escorting you to the village or talking to them about it. And the best way to do that is really to get in touch with Lena Takahashi in Japan. So her email is Healing Land Reiki, or their website is healinglandreiki.com. So you could check in with her. Some of this is all just now opening. So we're talking, all of it has been open for a week. But the Tani village, the Reiki Association actually really requests that if we're going, that we, connect with them, because it is a small village. And truthfully, there's not a lot to do there other than to see the shrine and the gate. And you could be there for 45 minutes. And that's really what there is to see there. The village is very small. There's not a lot of like commerce or anything there, or places to stay there. Even I don't even think we saw like any restaurants or anything. So it really is a kind of a residential village. So that's what Robyn was talking about.
Right. Well, it's a good kind of segue to our next question is talking about world peace Reiki. And so we don't really have a specific question around that, but I feel like it's a good segue because of that, kind of that idea of the Anshin Ditsume. So maybe you want to talk about like what led up to World Peace Reiki, and then if there's any specific questions that you have, then you can, put those in the chat as well around it.
Well, when we say what led up to World Peace Reiki, I think it's an intention of Reiki itself and the Reiki energy. And Anshin Ditsume, which is the enlightenment experience that Usui Sensei was actually on the mountain to attain. He had decided that that would be the purpose of his life and was asking that question, what's the purpose of my life? Anshin Ditsume and Reiki energy is what answered him. And he had the experience of enlightenment that brought spiritual peace. So peace energy is actually natural within Reiki energy anyway. It's one of the frequencies. And if you think of it being a life force energy, in my own mind, how I've been wrapping around this concept of peace and what is it to be peaceful and have peace, and really coming to the understanding that peace is, an earth experience, because in the enlightened realms, there is only peace. And so what we are doing is accessing a life force energy that we can actually receive. It can amplify it within our physical being, within our mind, within our spirituality. I believe that a lot of us are born at this time specifically to contribute to developing peace, and in using peace to develop peace. And I know that that has been a human experience always, that there are always the people that are working towards peace and have been. So it's, it's in us, it's there, and a calling. And so the energy of it is there. And I believe that Reiki energy is continually helping us to evolve to the possibilities of the higher levels of consciousness that actually is Reiki energy, because it's all higher frequencies. And so how do we get there? And so the energy itself can help us with that. So if we go back through the history of Reiki, starting with Usui, well, the history of Usui's system of working with Reiki, starting with him, was that Anshin Ditsume and spiritual peace. So that's naturally rippling through all of the systems of Reiki as we're receiving it. So now let's fast forward into the 1990s and think of William Rand and his intention to create the peace grids. So he actually had the idea, found an artist that could actually make these peace grids that are about a foot wide. They're in the shape of a lotus flower, and they have 12 petals on them. They're made of copper, stainless steel, and 24 karat gold. He had 6 of them made. On each of the petals is a double pointed crystal that is attached to the grid, with a center crystal, and then the inscription around the center crystal says, may the followers of all the world's religions and spiritual paths work together to create peace among all people on earth. He also had 12 of the world's, kind of major religions, symbols for those 12 religions, one each in front of each crystal put on the grid. And it's really beautiful. And that includes atheism and independent spiritual path. So it's not defining, any specifics about religions. It's all of the religions and spiritual paths working together. So he had this idea to empower these grids by placing them around the world, and listened to the Reiki guidance as to where to place them. So he took one to the North Pole, physically took it there, and placed it in the snow there, very deep down, and then took one to the South Pole and placed it there. And this is over the course of years. Then in another trip, he went to Jerusalem, and that peace grid is in an art gallery on the wall of the Temple of Solomon in the old city of Jerusalem. One of the grids is in the Reiki Center in William's home in Michigan, and one is in his home in Hawaii. And then just this year, when this whole peace grid placement, or whole peace, world peace energy was coming in, the priests on Mount Karama placed the final grid in the main temple, the main shrine on Mount Karama in their prayer room for peace. The priests on Mount Karama gather from all over the world, and they spend, weeks and months praying for peace, and they place the peace grid in their prayer room. So the energy of it has been strengthening, empowering there all along, for each of us to receive. In this specific upgrade of the Reiki energy, and again, what I believe Reiki energy helps us evolve to through these attunements to the energy, making it easy to connect with it, was this year, William and I were actually working together, and we were talking about, this was right after the war started with Russia invading Ukraine, and the empathic stress of the people was just so amplified and worldwide. This is global, and and not just this particular war, but knowing that there are wars all around the world, and places where there is no peace, and people who are suffering with no peace. So the empathic stress was so strong, we could all feel it. We were all talking about it, and William was talking about it when we were working together, and we work together and we bring in the Reiki energy, and we're really listening with the Reiki energy about, what can we do? And that's what he said. He was like, what can we do? And he said, I'm willing to do whatever we can to help people with this level of stress that they're in. And, because of course he's very empathic and could feel the empathic stress that was occurring. And that's literally, we both just felt this energy come in. We had been working with Lena Takahashi, the one that we're speaking of in Japan. Her family is in Ukraine. Her mother was and brother right in the war zone. And we were working with Lena and Munikai together with the 100-year anniversary ceremony on Mount Karama. So the energy came in with William. He's really amazing at not knowing it's coming, but here it is. And He just opens it up to receive it and then to share it. And so it came through as world peace energy. The first iteration of it was the energy of what we call the empowered by the river of peace experience, which is something that we can do with anyone. They don't have to have Reiki, but what this is doing is amplifying that frequency of Reiki with intention and purpose and action around it to spread it, amplify it, and empower peace in our human intentions, and do that around the world. In addition, William did also establish a monthly meditation with people with Reiki all around the world, that over 420,000 people have registered for peace, empowering the peace grids. And I see Steve is here, brought up the suggestion of, really being aware of not only when we do this meditation monthly, all these people empowering these grids with peace, empowering the earth with peace, but that we also, include all the peace grids of all the people from all the different traditions, and just amplify that that frequency of peace, and set the intention that, this is something that we are inviting here on the earth and in the world. So that's the world peace. So there is an attunement to it and a webinar for it. It is part of the Holy Fire Reiki system. And so you can find that information about the attunement with the world peace energy on reiki.org. All of our classes now, all of my classes include that energy in our attunements. So it's also part of the energy, the Reiki energy that we're working with. Oh, I know one more thing to add with it. So what my own experience and what I'm seeing in the experiences is the very first thing, that when I received the energy, the world peace Reiki energy, it showed me pretty clearly the areas where I'm not peaceful. So I was pretty uncomfortable at first, just saying. And so if that happens, it wasn't like a poof, oh no, I'm peaceful. It was like, oh, these are the areas that can still get me with my anxiety. And, I'm not a bypass person. So it's not, I'm definitely paying attention. I have all the same things everybody else does with, the worldwide events going on and listening. But it does help me get to, what can I actually do? Like what is my form of activism? What can I physically do? What can I, energetically do? And so it helps me define that question on a personal level for me, myself. What can I do with my loved ones that holds this energy, managing all the different relationship things that we go through, finances, taxes, things that are in that, my spiritual practices, my physical world, my physical health. So it helps me on a personal level, but then also I find that it clarifies for me what I do in the world to contribute and how I do that. One of the things that came through with it the other day, and I'm hoping to write about it and develop it more. I don't want to talk about it too much, but really an awareness of the energy of good message. And that is one of the things, and I'll talk more about that when I've kind of listened more about that. But it's really clarifying for me how I contribute peace in the world.
I might sneeze, so just,
Oh, I didn't, yeah, I thought you
Uh-oh.
looked like you were ready to cry.
everything's okay. What I was just going to say is that we just recorded a webinar with William the other day. And that
Podcast.
a podcast, I'm sorry. A podcast with William the other day that will be released soon. And he was just talking about kind of, I think our question was, how did this all lead up to the World Peace Reiki? But then we just got an amazing insight into the idea of, and Colleen, you might need to correct how I say this because I'm a little fuzzy right now, but just about, Reiki is meant to be developed.
Yes.
That was part of Usui's intention with it, and part of what the energy and the energy showed him and told him that it was to be continued to be developed. And so that was a part of kind of William's journey with all of that, and the creation of the Usui Tibetan part, the manuals, then the Holy Fire, Karuna, and now the World Peace. And so it was really fascinating to, hear that perspective. And, I know it's some of that is in the evidence-based history of Reiki book and something like that, but it was a fascinating conversation with it. And so you have the webinar that you can take that's on reiki.org if you're already the Holy Fire lineage. If you're not, how you can be upgraded to that is taking a Reiki masterclass, and also taking, if you're already a Reiki master, taking a Karuna Reiki class. And so those will
And Holy Fire.
Holy Fire, yeah.
Yeah.
Holy Fire class, and those will give you the master symbol to the Holy Fire Reiki, and that includes the World Peace Reiki.
Yeah. And also, if you are not going that pathway, invite your own World Peace Reiki energy to work with you. So, not everybody that is listening is going to say, oh, now I want to go this direction with my Reiki. And so we just want to clarify that, I think it's available to all of us to receive. And the Holy Fire is one way of receiving it. There, also ask Reiki yourself in your way to receive your own peace energy.
Well, and there's, I think, a piece of it that is, no pun intended, that is, part of the Reiki energy includes the frequencies of Anjin Ditsume.
Yeah.
And the peace energy also includes those frequencies. So if you're not called to the Holy Fire lineage, that is definitely okay, because it's a part of the Reiki energy and part of its frequencies. I know, as Colleen said, the uncomfortableness of the upgrade was that it's clearing out all of that stuff, where I like how you said that, Colleen, where you don't feel very peaceful. And that time frame is actually, after it's kind of over, can be uncomfortable, but also special because of the work that is kind of being done, and that awareness of the Reiki, of the work that Reiki is doing. But after, because that time frame, I know for me was a couple weeks. Some people I've heard it was, even a month, that kind of thing, that it is after it, though, feeling those levels of peace. Some people felt it right away too. I'll also say that some people felt it right away after the experiences, after the attunement. People really went into kind of this sense of peace that, it's such a balance that there's, I wouldn't say it's necessarily blissful in that way as we kind of want to think of peace is, but it is there is just such a sense of being. There's such a sense of there's like there's not also anything wrong. There's, it is really a beautiful frequency to be in. I know after I experienced my near-death experience, it was very similar, that I was able to kind of be in that place for like a good solid month. That was really amazing to experience those frequencies. And I would say that this energy to me had that kind of level, that similar frequency within it. And so, but it took me a little bit to get there. So just so you know, if that happens, then you just know that it's very normal, and many people talked about that. So to answer Christine's question of when the podcast will be released with William, I think it'll be released next week. So at the beginning of next week, hopefully Monday. So just getting some things in order with it. And then Anshin Ditsume is spelled, Colleen, you might want to correct me. It's ANSHIN, and then space, it's actually REI, Ritsume,
It's RITSUMEI.
Thank you, RIT. Yeah.
Mhm.
Is a question regarding experiences. In my Karuna class with William, I remember him mentioning once that experiences always have to be done live, as they are created in the moment for the group that is present. My question is, why or how is the method of transmission, or for lack of a better word, different for experiences versus regular Reiki sessions versus journey, that can be done remote and at different times or pre-recorded, and that people receive it when they choose to listen to it? Why do experiences not also work like that?
So Misty, I'm not sure where that came out that way, because for instance, in the podcast, William just did the Holy Fire healing experience in it, that's recorded and available for you to listen to. So I'm not sure where the shift in the communication is about that, but we can definitely do the experiences and use the distance symbol for people to still receive it at another time. We can record them, just like if you listen to, say, our invocation that we do today, and the invocations get posted on YouTube, and you listen to it on YouTube, that you're still going to feel the energy because it's there live. So I'm not sure how that all came about to have it said that way. So but I know, like I say, William's doing recordings with experiences, and also some of the webinars are recorded. So I'm not quite sure how it came out that way, but we definitely can use recordings. We can use distance Reiki energy. Let's say that we're doing a session on somebody and they're not listening right in that moment. When we do distance sessions, sometimes the client is not immediately engaged in the session, and other times they are. So you may set a distance session where you, as the practitioner, are sending Reiki or giving Reiki at the same time they are laying down receiving Reiki. Other times, you, as the practitioner, may work with distance Reiki with a client, and they're going to receive it later. Like they're doing something completely different than the time that you are giving the Reiki, which opens the possibilities for the ways that you can give it. So you can also do the same thing. So let's say you were verbally working with the distance Reiki, even for yourself. So right now, for those of you that can't see, I'm showing up my distance Reiki doll, and I might be working with the distance Reiki doll and feel like I want to verbalize the session or verbalize an experience while I'm doing distance Reiki on a person, record that, and then send that to them later. You would certainly be able to do that. And I've done that with William, and I've seen him do it. So I'm not quite sure how that came out, or if he said it differently that day than other days or whatever. But so I know he does that too. So it's definitely okay.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that, because
Yeah.
I was reading through my notes and I saw that that's what I had written down. And I've seen other practitioners having these experiences separately on their website also as something you can purchase and just do the experience. So I was very confused. So yes, thank you. I'm glad.
Yeah. Yes, you definitely can utilize it as part of your sessions, your distance sessions. And, just like I say, we will be putting the invocation on from today, and know that people, from experience of what people share with us, that they definitely experience the journeys. All this month at the Distance Reiki Shares, we've been recording our Reiki journeys, because that's what we've been talking about. And so we've been recording the Reiki journeys, and for people to listen to later, and again, getting feedback that, they're experiencing it. So yeah, I'm glad you asked, so that
Thank you.
opens all those possibilities for you.
And on our YouTube channel, we actually have the animal Reiki healing experience on there that you can go and do. And then on the ICRT's YouTube channel, they have the Empowered in the River of Peace and the Heavenly Banquet Hall experience on there that you can go and have that experience as well.
Yeah.
Those experiences.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Well, are there any other questions? We do have a couple minutes left.
Well, someone asked a question, emailed a question
Okay.
that I can kind of start to answer about how to start a Reiki business. So one of the things that we like to clarify is that there's a difference between having your Reiki practice and having a Reiki business. So you can have a Reiki practice, and the practices are solely for you, possibly for family members, your pets, or your life around you, however that works. And your Reiki practices then are, for you and guide you that way. Some people actually want to have a Reiki business, and the Reiki business that can hopefully support them and their family financially, so that they can do that for a living. And so having a Reiki business and starting it, it's a big, big subject. One of a really good book is on Amazon called The Reiki Business Book, written by Pamela Allen LeBlanc. And that's a good place to start. The main thing to understand with having a Reiki business is it is a professional service small business in the 21st century. And so I just saw this question asked of a lot of people that were already very experienced, and they kept saying, let Reiki guide you, which is the first piece. But the second piece is that you really do have to consider all the same small business practices that any other small business is using and needed in the 21st century. So I say it that way because I've been self-employed since I was 26, so the 20th century and the 21st century. And so aware of small business practices, there's some of them that are the core, like those are the foundation business practices that are always true. So for instance, what is the structure of your business? Are you going to have like what they call a brick and mortar building business? And of course, now we're in the 21st century, it's possible to have a distance Reiki business. And that's a possibility. So what is the structure? And that's a normal question, regardless of what century you're in. What's your structure? The next thing is, what is it going to look like? And that's, in today's world, is called your branding. So what is the physical attributes of it? How does it look? How are you communicating who you are by the look of your business? So in a brick and mortar building, when somebody opens that front door, what's the presentation of your business? In today's world, when you open your .com, your business name, what does that look like? That's the same as your storefront. So the same way that you wanted to present you and who you are is another piece of it. And then you have, what services are you offering? And how are you going to do that? What is the purpose of your services? And what services do you offer? Now, then you're going to define that by, let's say, of course, in a Reiki business, you're going to have Reiki clients, and whether you're going to teach Reiki also. And then do you have any other modalities that you are also working with? So transparency. If you have Reiki clients, just like always, you'll need to have appointments, and you'll have to have a structure around the appointments, and then communication with your services to your clients about what to expect. So here's when you're going to have your appointment. This is what happens in the appointment. Here's how long you will be here. And here's what it's going to cost. And then in today's world, you're going to be doing that probably most of the time through online and digital methods. So those are some of the structural ideas around it. So there's communications is next. How are you going to communicate with your clients? Again, in the past, we did everything on the phone. That was normal, that you would be talking on the phone, answering the phone. And there was, for me, a big transition between people wanting to talk on the phone about everything to when everybody moved into, well, I would rather email. And then a lot of people use text, and they text message everything. So there's the evolution of it, but it's still the same thing. How are you going to communicate with your clients? And so those practices, those business skills that you are developing, the structure of it. And then things like, how are you going to track your clients? So there's your business organization. You have bookkeeping, checking accounts, all of those kinds of things. Again, those are all normal. And maybe now you receive payments through PayPal instead of somebody mailing you a check or something along those lines, or you're going to use Square or all of those things. And then the next piece, and really probably the primary piece, is how do you let people know who you are and what services you provide? What is your message? How are you going to do? That's marketing. So marketing used to be print ads. So when I started with Reiki, everything was in print. And so I did things like we wrote the articles. I actually had, if you look back at Reiki News magazine, I had actual print ads. I still do. But marketing in today's world is rarely done in a newspaper. Like it was brand new that everything moved into an online communications. I remember when New Renaissance Bookstore here in Portland, and I used to be on in their printed list of presenters, and then the printed list went to digital, and magazines that I was in their print ads, like the local Portland ads and things, and flyers. Like we used to hire people to send flyers around. Now that's in social media. 21st century, if you're really going to have a Reiki business, more than likely, unless you're all word of mouth and you just, you get to have it however you want, but you also are typically going to need to do social media. And what that does is goes into how do you message who you are? How do you explain to people who you are? One of the things to know with that is think about who you're speaking to and what is it that you can tell them about who you are, what your services are, and how Reiki, most of all, they want to know, how does Reiki help them? And so you may even be thinking about in your communications, well, what are the problems people are having that Reiki can solve? And how do I explain that? A lot of times, if you're just out and about and people are asking you and you say, oh, I do Reiki, and they say, what is that? Good amount of the time, you can say, well, it's a natural style of stress reduction, or a Japanese natural style of stress reduction that promotes healing. And a lot of people don't need to know more than that. But you also need to have that kind of just, what do you say about what you do? And some of that with Reiki can be the biggest challenge. And that part of it, we've been working in the next step classes about your authentic message. Like, what is it that you are sharing, and what is authentically you that is relatable to somebody else? So that's marketing. I'll tell you what, right now, and it's taken me a long time to train myself to this, but I do just surf around YouTube asking some of these questions. So for instance, right now, I'm trying to learn more about Instagram. I'll tell you, it is just over my head, and trying to figure out where are stories, where are reels, and if I'm going to do reels, how do I do them? And if I'm going to do them, I want to do them in a good way. And Danny helps me with all that, and she helps with all the Facebook posts, or I should say, I help her. I don't know quite how to say that. Danny pretty well is, in our social media and messaging, and we work together with the messaging. But the how to, that's what, instead of watching TV in the morning or something, or I like to go to YouTube and I just ask some of these questions. And it took me forever to realize you can write, how do I, with any question on YouTube, and something's going to pop up. So I've been learning about Instagram, but Robyn was showing me some yesterday. And one of the things I was like, but I don't know the first button to push. Like, all of these are after you know the first button to push. All of this information is about, all the other things. But also one of the YouTube people that I watch, Gary V. Vaynerchuk, he's a whole other system, not saying everybody needs to listen to him, but anyway, he talks about social media, and he's a marketing whiz guy, and he talks about social media. And he said, if you're in business, today's world, social media is your free advertising. It's not free because of the time you spend, But when you get it developed, it is the way that you get your message out and you communicate. Email lists. So things like when we originally did, I was probably one of the first people to have a newsletter because I was, gonna stay on top of it. And we had a newsletter and practiced it and set it up and figured it out. And probably at that time had like maybe even a 70% open rate or something. Then a lot of people got newsletters. One of the things I always made sure, and this is true of my emails too, is that we always produce something worthwhile opening. So if you open my newsletter, there's always our newsletter, there is always going to be something worth opening it for. There will always be some kind of information. For the longest time, I loved doing my Reiki craft projects, and they were always part of it. But there's articles, something to listen to, and then we may have what our offerings are. But the first thing is also to make it worth opening. The same with our emails, making them that has something of value for people to open. So being a resource. And the other thing I would say is William's famous quote of definiteness of purpose sustained over time always produces results. So with everything that I just said, the first thing to do is just start. Start with your clients, start getting the word out, and then also stay in a place of listening for what you actually really want. You may be having Reiki practices that are not actually like a Reiki business, but you are still using your Reiki practices. And so for a lot of people, that's what they want with Reiki. They're not out to have a Reiki business, but a lot of times there's a feeling of shoulds, the should have a Reiki business, but you're having a Reiki practice. And that is as important as anything else we can do. Using Reiki for yourself is as important as anything else you can do with Reiki. And so, it's always okay to establish your Reiki business however you want, exactly at the size that you want, what you want it to look like. Some of that, you discover as you go along. You don't necessarily know what that is unless you're, doing it and getting there, and it changes all the time. And then also defining for yourself if actually what you really want or really are doing is having a Reiki practice, and let your Reiki practices just be involved in your daily life. That's why I mentioned Pam LeBlanc's book. I wrote the foreword on it, and she's also one of the co-authors of the Animal Reiki manuals with us. And what I really like about the book is it has you think about all these things, and then has exercises for you to do with Reiki energy to help you clarify some of the things that we've just talked about. What's the energy behind it? Because without the energy behind it, it's, Reiki is an energy business. And so the Reiki energy is flowing through all of it. And that's why at the very beginning of this, when I said, we do our invocations for everything that we do our Reiki journeys for everything that we do, because the Reiki energy is the foundation. It will also help guide you with your Reiki practices. And if you want a Reiki business, also with the energy, you have to get to the very real physical aspects of having a Reiki business as well. And so I always define that as kind of right now we're in 21st century business practices. And some of it, like social media, I've had to really use Reiki energy to help me. I love the idea of it, the global communication, and I love getting to add and contribute wellness into those spaces. But because it's so like challenging for me to keep up with the new techniques and new ways and the new algorithms, I mean, it took me forever to even understand what an algorithm was. And so I use Reiki energy to help me. And I love the curiosity. So that's where I go with it is, have the Reiki energy amplify my curiosity into some of these fields that I don't naturally love, but I do love communication. So like working with the energy to help with how then to, express that in a real way. So, yeah, very much. I think that's Danny that said many of our students are nurses, hairstylists, therapists, teachers, veterinarians, physical therapists, family counselors, a lot of very professional services. And so you see that with Reiki because it is a professional service. It's in the same way, it's in the professional healing services. So you're thinking about it from that perspective. But look up that, if you really, that Pam's book is very worth it. It's on Amazon. Again, it's called the Reiki Business Book. And I highly recommend it. But I also recommend other avenues of learning about business practices. Like your community colleges, they have small business night classes probably now that we're getting back into schools in the same way. I would imagine more night classes will be opening up too. And chambers of commerce, thank you.
And online.
And online, yes.
All right.
Okay, well, I think we are at finishing up.
Yep.
Score, M says SCORE is another place to look. So many online resources. Use your online resources. There's a lot there that can help you. Then once you get into the actual like bookkeeping and all that part of it, I'm not the one to, I have to hire all that done. My brain doesn't do that work. So, and I want to clarify that when I say it's also very much we. So Robyn and I and Danny and all the rest of our Reiki lifestyle team, very, very fortunate to have each other to do this with. The other thing is, again, just know that start slow. And like if you look at our website with all the resources, I've been doing this. I started putting on that website probably back in 2004 or 5. So what you are seeing there, and then once Robyn and Danny joined, now it just, really expanded. So there's a lot that we can do because we have teams. Oh yeah, libraries. Thanks, Em. Oh yeah, the library. Okay. All right. Well, I think we are good to go. Anything else from anybody? It's here live. Again, that's a big subject. It's one of those that would probably be good to go ahead and do a whole set of things on business practices. It's always on the list. So anyway. All right. Small Business Association. Yeah, thank you. Well, let's go ahead and finish up then. And thank you everyone for joining us here live. Thank you to all of you who are listening later. And so you can go to ReikiLifestyle.com to find out all kinds of information, lots more podcasts, lots more on YouTube. We've been very, very active with our YouTube channel, lots of invocations and information and fun and community. Probably for us, that's our big thing, is we really love our community. Okay.
Right.
All right. I think that's everything. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And, just so for all of you that are listening know as well, if you do have a Reiki question, of course, you're able to email it to us, but a lot of times we end up just answering the questions from the people that are here live. But you are welcome to join us live here to ask your Reiki questions too. So you can go to the podcast tab on the Reiki Lifestyle website and sign up for the podcast newsletter. Many of you are probably already signed up for that. And that will give you the notification of when we are doing them here. And so you can join us live.
Danny has something to mention. Go ahead, Danny.
I was just saying, you only need to register one time.
Oh, yes.
So if you're already receiving emails, you're good to go.
Yes. So awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Bye now.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.